I used to think the scariest thing a camera could capture was silence. The hush that swallows the forest after the birds stop singing. That perfect, primal quiet suggesting something vast has noticed you. Tonight, silence is the last thing I'll ever hear. I used to think fear was a stunt you could rehearse. The perfect thumbnail scream, the practiced gasp, the choreographed camera shake that kept our subscribers glued to the screen. Out in these woods, however, fear stopped being content and became the air I breathed. Katherine and I had driven 3 hours beyond the last paved road, our dusty SUV coughing up red dirt, until the trees knitted together so tightly the sky was reduced to a narrow ribbon. The satellite map called this part of the Appalachians unincorporated. No power lines, no cell towers, only rumors, strange lights, howls at moonrise, a shadow 8 feet tall that left footprints the size of cast iron skillets. Perfect Bigfoot country, we told ourselves. We hiked for most of the day, GoPros blinking on our chests. Cicadas droned so loudly my ribs vibrated. Around dusk, we crossed a creek whose water ran rust brown, and there, on the far bank, a shape moved, small, pale, quick. "A deer," Katherine whispered. The shape straightened. It was a little girl, maybe 7. Her hair hung in ropey clumps. Her dress was a rag of burlap tied with vines. She regarded us with a head tilt too sharp to be childlike. More a predator's calibration. "Hi there," I said, lifting a hand as gently as I could. "Are you lost?" She sniffed the air. Faster than I could flinch, she sprang across the creek, landing in front of me with a splash that soaked my jeans. Her nails, jagged gray, slashed my forearm. Pain bolted up my elbow. Katherine screamed, but before I could turn, the girl lunged at her, teeth closing on Kat's shoulder with a wet crunch. Blood. Real blood. Katherine's, bright as arterial paint, sprayed the moss. The shock broke over me like ice water. I grabbed my wife by the backpack straps and yanked her away. The girl tore loose a mouthful of flesh the way a dog tears bread, chewing while her eyes, milky animal, never left us. We ran. Katherine's sobs mixed with my wheezing. Every heartbeat felt louder than the cicadas. Behind us, the child's footfalls patted the leaves, but she didn't give chase for long. Maybe she'd fed enough. Maybe she was toying with us. Night swallowed the trail. Only after we'd barricaded ourselves in the SUV, shaking, bleeding, stinking of panic, did we dare speak. "We need a hospital," Katherine croaked. In the ER, doctors stitched our wounds and asked pointless questions. We said we'd been mauled by a feral dog. Truth sounded ridiculous, even to me, yet truth gnawed at us harder than infection. During the sleepless week that followed, Katherine replayed the footage frame by frame. The girl's pupils were blown wide, her lips were cracked, crusted. But what froze my breath was the smear of blackish mud on her cheeks. Finger paint patterns, almost ritualistic. "She's not alone," Katherine said. Rational people would have counted their blessings and let the sheriff handle it. We were not rational. We were storytellers. Horror loves a sequel. We studied tranquilizer gun manuals, ordered darts loaded with sleepy meds used on 600-pound bears, and told ourselves we'd bring the girl to civilization, to safety, while capturing the most shocking footage YouTube had ever seen. The forest greeted us with rotten leaf breath. I carried the dart rifle. Katherine carried spare mags. Around noon, we found fresh footprints, small, bare footprints, and another set twice as large, deeper, toe-insistent. Something big. Katherine raised her camera. "Keep rolling," she whispered. The woods went silent. Even cicadas held their tongues. A low grunt, thick, wet, pulsed from the tree line. Out stepped the man. He was mountainous, beard matted with filth, chest bare except for a sash of stitched hides that might have been human. He held a length of rusty chain like a shepherd's crook. Katherine froze. The man's eyes, yellowish, vacant, locked on her. Then he snapped the chain forward. It cinched around her ankles with a clank. Katherine toppled, camera clattering. I swung the rifle up, but the man's roar, no language, just rage, made my trigger finger tremble. That's when the girl slid from the brush, crawling spider low. She latched onto Katherine's calf and bit down, savoring the scream that followed. Katherine thrashed, but the chain was anchored somewhere unseen. I fired. The dart hissed and thudded into the child's shoulder. She whipped toward me, hissed, took a step, then her limbs buckled. She slumped over Katherine like a grotesque blanket. The man howled. He charged. I bolted. Branches whipped my face. The big man's footfalls hammer-drummed in pursuit. He didn't shout words, only gargled moans that vibrated with hunger. My lungs burned. The rifle felt like iron rebar. Ahead, I saw nothing but trunks and shadow, until the earth vanished beneath my boot. A steel jaw clamped my leg. Pain burst white. I fell, cracked my temple on a stump, and the forest washed away in dark waves. When consciousness returned, it did so in pieces. First the smell, rot, sweat, rust, then sound, slurps, a child's giggle, the rasp of a blade on bone. My eyelids parted. I lay on a plank floor inside a house built from raw timber. No windows, only slits where daylight leaked like colorless blood. Around me sat a family. The big man, the feral girl, an ancient woman whose scalp was pockmarked with lesions, and two smaller children with twitching smiles. They watched me the way cats watch a spider. Between them lay Katherine, or what was left, her torso shredded. One arm gnawed to elbow. The rest, scattered like butcher's scraps. I tried to scream but produced only a hoarse wheeze. I tried to sit up and discovered my legs were gone below the knees. Stumps crudely cauterized with a wood stove poker dripped onto a tin pan placed neatly beneath. The little girl held something in her hands. My boot, still laced, with part of my calf inside. She bit, chewing thoughtfully. Tears blurred the scene. I begged. Words spilled. Take me to a hospital. Let me go, please. The old woman creaked closer, her spine crackling. She pressed a finger to my lips, silent, tender, almost motherly, and then drew that finger across her throat in a slow, deliberate line. The big man knelt behind me. Two fists gripped the sides of my head. I smelled his breath, ripe with raw meat. He muttered gutturals that might have been prayer. Outside, wind stirred the pines with a hush, like an audience waiting for the curtain to fall. I thought of subscribers who'd click a thumbnail titled, "We found a real Bigfoot family," and leave comments like "fake and gay" or "staged lol." None would know the truth, how sometimes the monster is the thumbnail, sometimes the lens, and sometimes the fool behind it. Something sharp slid under my chin. The world tilted. My last thought was that fear is never content. It is a feast, and tonight I was the main course. I felt nothing after that, except perhaps the faint vibration of a camera still recording somewhere in the leaves, waiting to upload a video no one would dare watch to the end.